of winter break, and everybody was busy with their end-of-year plans. Oh, by the way, welcome back. This is 2 Athemar 7 of NotTheTimCurryStudios.com. Continuing in my storyline here, we're into the second video of the Hikari/Saya route, and let's see where it goes. That was when my life began to change.
ネットで知り合った OL とメッセージのやり取りって何なの？バカなの？
Saya grumbled, sounding a bit sullen, as she stroked Kotaru's head.
コタちゃんはそんな風になっちゃダメだからね。
Saya was bent over, and I could feel waves of icy emotions coming off her back. So I snuck by her and carried my luggage into my new home. Damn it, Hikari! I grumbled as I deposited my things in the corner of the room.
まだ言ってる。
Hikari came in behind me and dropped some more bags on the floor.
言っとくけど見せてないよ。
Then how does she know about Kamako?
話したから。だって前に話すって約束したし。隠し事してるみたいで気分良くないじゃん。
And what about our promise?
だからログは見せてないって。ただコマコさんとアキトの馴れ初めとメッセージのやり取りしてたって話しただけで。
And now, thanks to you, I'm forced to live in this situation that can only be described as an ice age. I was being tormented by Saya's icy glares and passive-aggressive comments. There was no way I could expect any Odin now.
Don't mind.
Her attitude was so flippant. I almost wanted to hit her.
それよか、引っ越しの片付けしちゃおうよ。
I can take care of the rest myself. It's not like I have that much anyway.
そう言わずに手伝わせてよ。日本にいられるのもあとちょっとなんだから。
With that, Hikari started cleaning up. Oh, fine. Starting today, this is where I'll be living. It took a while, but I finally found a place to stay. It was only a minute walk from the station and even had a convenience store underneath it. It really felt like I was living on my own in the city. Oh, on top of that, rent was cheap and it even included meals. Deals this good were few and far in between. There was just one thing I was worried about.
ねえ、ここに住むってことは先生と結婚する気になったってこと？
Absolutely not.
まあ、早乙女先生美人だし、先生ならしょうがないかなって思うけどさ。
I just said that has nothing to do with it. The room was on the second floor of the Stop and Buy convenience store. The room was part of Miharu Satomi's house. This was the house that our old homeroom teacher had grown up in. I can't wait to graduate and get out on my own. The room was great and it was exactly what I'd wanted, but I didn't want to get stuck here and turn into Miss Miharu's adopted son.
おや？エッチな本発見！
It is not. Hikari was holding a comic magazine that did have a few racy bikini model pages. She slid it under my dictionary. I was living in school. There's no way I would have something like that.
その割には必死すぎない？
Most people probably wouldn't consider this a naughty book, but I guess it would depend on who you asked. By the way, Hikari, there's been something I've wanted to ask you for a while now.
何？
A while back, you told me you were sick of looking at the stars.
そうだっけ？
Don't play dumb. That was one of the reasons we'd had our huge fight. You told me you were sick of it, but you never really stopped watching the stars, did you? It wasn't just at the Six Stars Club activities either. Hikari had been looking at the stars the whole time since back then. That much was obvious after going back through the chat logs with Kamako. So why did you say it?
なんでかな。ただの気まぐれ？ほら、私秋っぽいし。
It looked like she was going to avoid the question until the very end then. If you say so. In that case, you won't mind if I read that letter.
なんでそうなるのよ。
I think the real reason is written in that letter, that's what. Oh, did I hit a nerve? Hikari was getting flustered. Does that mean it really was written in that letter?
そんなことしたらコマコさんのログさやに見せるわよ。
Fine by me. The secret's already out anyway. If she finds out what you've been up to, Saya will not be pleased with you either, you know? I had no doubt that my ice age with Saya would get even colder, but Hikari would be affected by the aftermath as well. Hikari looked like someone had poked her in a sore spot and didn't say anymore. I won't read the letter if you won't talk about your reason. What do you say? Will you talk to me?
だからただの気まぐれだって。私の性格よく知ってるでしょ。
I did. That was how I could tell something wasn't right. Hikari wasn't one to easily betray the things she cared about. Hikari bit her lip as she glared at me. She really did not want to talk about it. But I couldn't let her leave without hearing her reason, so I refused to back down.
わかった。話すよ。
Arigatou gozaimasu.
でも顔見られてると話しづらい。あっち向いてて。
After all this time, are there really things you get embarrassed about around me?
あるわよ。パンチとか見られたくないもん。
Other people would be embarrassed about saying that out loud, too, I thought to myself. All right, fine. I rolled my eyes, but turned around and sat cross-legged on the floor. Hikari was probably making sure I wasn't going to suddenly spin back around to look at her. Here, I'll even close my eyes for you. I closed my eyes.
あのね、実はね、
Hikari hesitantly began speaking.
私、あの時、
Something felt strange. When I turned to look over my shoulder, Hikari was tiptoeing out of the room. Hey, wait right there!
やだ、待たない。
Then you're fine with me reading the... I stopped mid-sentence. Hikari was holding an envelope with a bunny sticker on it. Hey, give that back!
やだやだ、絶対返さない。
When I stood up to take the letter back, Hikari stuffed it down the front of her shirt into her bra.
へへん、これでどうよ。
Hikari thrust her chest out, a look of triumph on her face. Even with all her clothes, I could see that her chest was quite large. That meant her bra would be plenty big, enough so that stuffing a letter in would be no problem.
取れるもんなら取ってみなさい。ほれほれ。
You really think that's going to stop me? Hikari faltered at that.
嘘。
Give me back the letter!
やだやだ、ターンマ、隠すとこ変えるからパンツに隠すから待って。
It would make no difference to me. Without hesitation, I lunged forward to get the letter back.
で、こら、揉んでる、それ本当に揉んじゃってるって。
Stop moaning, you're going to make me feel weird.
なりなさいよ、ちょっとは。っていうか、もだえてないし、全然もだえてなんかないし。
Hikari kept moaning as she said this. I hadn't intended on it, but I began to feel a strange sensation. Why the hell does this feel so soft? It seriously felt like I was touching something made of fluffy marshmallows. But this was Hikari. That was getting me nowhere, so I decided to settle things once and for all.
ってそこじゃない、そこ違う、服に手入れないで。
If you'd stop squirming, this would be over already.
エッチ変態ドエッチ、誰か。
Miss Maharu entered the room and did not look happy. It looked like the veins on her forehead would pop right out.
引っ越してきて早々、部屋に女を連れ込むとは、いい度胸してるじゃないの。天津さえ無理やり行為に及ぼうだなんて。
No, this is not what it looks like.
先生、アキトがひどいんです。
Hikari ran and hid behind Miss Miharu. Hey, get back here! Miss Miharu moved to block my way before I could get to Hikari.
そこに座りなさい、空見くん。正座よ。
But I need to...
早く。
Hi. I sat.
あなたがそういうことに興味を持つ年頃だというのは先生よくわかるわ。けれどね、順序というものがあるの。嫌がる女の子に無理やり行為に及ぶというのは。
It had been years since I had heard Miss Miharu use her teacher's scolding voice. As she began, Hikari looked at me.
ごめんね。
Hikari mouthed the words silently before she descended down the stairs without a sound. Damn you, Hikari. Miss Miharu's lecture had lasted a full hour, the last half of which was her explaining how terrible I was for getting frisky in an unmarried woman's house. Hikari did call her later to explain that it was just a misunderstanding, but she had still made off with the letter. That was probably her reason for offering to help me move right from the start. She played me for a fool.
悪かったわよ。勘違いして。
No, it's our fault for doing something that could be taken the wrong way in the first place. I was more upset that Hikari didn't have to suffer through the entire hour of listening to the trials and tribulations of an unmarried woman with me.
でもね、私が言ったことはとても大事なことなのよ。特に年頃のあなたたちに。
As she said this, Miss Miharu grabbed a box off the shelf and walked over to the register. She scanned it and paid for it herself.
おごりよ。持ってなさい。
What is it? The box is very colorful. The unknowing customer might think it was a box of cigarettes or some candy, but I worked here. I knew exactly what it was. They were a type of contraceptive device. They were made out of latex and meant specifically for men.
大人の男のたしなみよ。
She said it with a cold air about her, but she couldn't keep her cheeks from blushing a bit. With that, she hurriedly made her way into the back of the store. If you're going to be awkward about it, you don't need to do it in the first place. I wish she'd put herself in my shoes before doing this. How does she think I feel getting condoms from my old childhood teacher? I wasn't sure if I really wanted to take them or not, but I shoved the colorful box into my pocket before anyone could see me with it. Yeah, I'm staying with Miss Miharu's starting today. I just got out of the shower.
じゃあもう天文部行っても食い物はねえのか。
Even if there were, there wouldn't be any for you. I was drying my hair with a towel as I made my way back to the room. Miss Miharu had left me use her bath that time I went swimming in the dead of winter, but now that old tiles had been replaced and it looked great.
お前が下宿始めたら入り浸ろうって思ってたけど、先々じゃできねえな。
If you're just stopping by to hang out, it should be fine. Come by whenever you like, Take.
おう、引っ越し祝い持ってくわ。
As we spoke, I put my legs under the heated table. It was going to be another cold night. The box of condoms that Miss Miharu had given me sat in front of me. I forgot I had left it out. I decided to put it somewhere out of sight. For a moment, I considered throwing it out, but then I figured there was a slim possibility I may end up using them. And who the heck would I use them with? Now, at first glance, since you're being asked to choose between one of the two characters on this route, you would think that this decision is rather important. It actually isn't, though. It just is has just a minor change here for just maybe 3 or 4 lines. So let's go ahead and see what happens if we would choose Hikari. And as soon as we get to where I know the common text will be, I'll come back and choose Load Saya instead. For a brief moment, Hikari's face popped into my head. I guess it couldn't be helped after accidentally touching her breasts like I did today. They were so soft. I knew that compared to guys, the female body was softer, but that was on an entirely different level. Just thinking about it gave me a strange, fuzzy feeling inside. Wait, what was I thinking? Okay, now this is where it gets back to the story. That's it. That's the only thing about that decision that has any meaning. So, since we are actually doing Saya's route first in this game, let's go back and load the Saya scenario and see where that goes. And let's do it. For a brief moment, Saya's face popped into my head. She sure is a beautiful girl. She was so innocent, and we had been childhood friends, so she was really relaxed around me. She was always grabbing my arm and such. So still, I'd known her forever. She was the closest friend I had. Wait, what was I thinking? This is all Miss Mahara's fault for giving me these stupid things. I shook my head to get rid of these strange thoughts.
どうした？
No, it's nothing.
光っていつまでこっちにいるんだ？
She said she is spending the New Year's holiday here, then leaving right after. I guess that means she'll be here for most of the winter break. Takeichi made a sound that I wasn't sure was it interest or indifference.
光が外国ね。ま、あいつならどこでもマイペースにやってけそうではあるけどな。
Probably. So, one of the girls from the club, Noriko, goes to school with Hikari. She said Hikari is normally quiet and doesn't talk much. Can you believe that?
あの光が？
I knew Takeichi wouldn't be able to believe it either. She was surprised when she saw how Hikari acted around me and Saya. Apparently, Hikari doesn't have many close friends over there.
ああ、なんとなく想像つくかも。
What? Really?
あいつって昔からちょっと浮いてるとこあったじゃん。
Really? But she had lots of friends. She had always seemed cheerful at the center of attention in class to me.
まあそうなんだけどよ。でもエネルギーが有り余りすぎてて空回りしてるっつうか。普通の女子じゃあいつのノリについてけないっつうか。
Thinking about it, I suppose he was right.
アキトと天の川が来てからずっと3人でつるんでたじゃねえか。
I suppose.
お前らぐらいだよ。光についていけたの。
I feel like you're calling me an oddball or something. I'm not sure I like it.
お前らが来てから光のやつ生き生きしてたし、だからまあ良かったんじゃねえか。
Not the most satisfactory conclusion. But when I thought about it, I didn't know what kind of person Hikari was before she began looking at the stars with us. By the time we'd become friends, she was already stargazing. After that, we'd go together almost every clear night there was. What had Hikari done to pass the time before that? How had she satisfied her curiosity and her need to always be doing something?
送別会とかやらねえの？
Yeah, with the Six Stars Club. Do you want to come? Well, if you want to come, let me know. Anybody who was at our stargazing event is welcome.
おお。
He was probably still suffering from his ordeal with Naru. Takeichi's mood took a sudden turn for the worse, so I tried to console him a bit before we finally hung up the phone. I guess I'd better just dry my hair and go to sleep. After sleeping at the school for so long, I can't remember the last time I had a proper futon to sleep on. I was thinking about how great it was going to be as I checked for messages on my phone. I really need to speak with you. Can we talk? Dear Saya, are you feeling better yet? Please talk with me. We'll go out and I'll buy you some pancakes. She read them all. The messages get marked red almost right after I send them, but she doesn't respond. I guess she's more angry than I expected. I let out a few more sighs as I finished blow drying my hair. Today was Hikari's farewell party. I've been working hard at my job since that morning. Sayab kept glaring at me from the cafe corner of the convenience store as I worked. I took out my phone. Can you forgive me yet? Saya read the message I sent, but... She spun around to face out the window and sipped her coffee. What's the big deal anyway? All I did was exchange messages with an office lady in the city. Was it really so bad for a young guy from the countryside to indulge in a fantasy? It's not like we had some kind of indecent relationship or something. If Saya saw that picture, she'd probably never speak to me again. It didn't matter whose cleavage it was. It could be that some office lady's, Hikari's, or even Hikari's dad for that matter. She'd ignored the explanation I gave. Saya saw somebody outside and gave a little wave.
ごめん、電車乗り遅れちゃって。私も今来たとこだよ。
Saya was always so polite. She'd been sitting there drinking her coffee for the last 30 minutes. She really was a nice girl, though that was probably just because it let her sit there and kill time by giving me this stink eye for so long.
はよーす。
Welcome to stopping by.
なにその冷めた態度。
I was still mad at her for stealing that letter the other day. Sensing my mood, she came over and whispered in my ear.
機嫌直してよ。その分おっぱい揉めたんだし。
Nani? That's not what happened.
アキトってむっつりだよね。
Hikari was enjoying herself too much as she picked up a bottle of mineral water and a rice ball.
あと豚まん一つください。
That'll be 534 yen. I took her money and handed her back her change.
さあやー、半分こしよう。お昼食べられなくなっちゃうよ。平気。豚まんは別腹だから。
I guess Hikari hadn't eaten breakfast that morning. Hikari and Saya had plans to go hang out in Harbor Town. They were both excited about having a girls' date. The farewell party was after that.
早乙女の豚まんもこれが食べ納めかも。寂しいな。帰ってきたらまた食べに来ればいいじゃない。おっちゃんが引退してなきゃいいけど。
The store's owner's husband was the one who made the pork buns. He worked at a factory down near the ocean. Making pork buns was just a hobby of his. He was getting older, though, and was thinking of retiring. There was no telling when Stop and Buy's famous pork buns would no longer be around.
大丈夫だよ。娘さんの婿養子が後を継いでくれるから。そうなの、アキト。
I'm just helping him. It's true I was helping with the pork buns as a thank you for renting my room so cheap, but it wasn't like they expected me to take over the store. At least I didn't think so.
そろそろバス来るよ。
Hikari bit into her half of the pork bun with gusto. Saya finished hers and stood up to put on her coat. When she did, something fell out of her pocket. Hey, Saya, you dropped something.
やばい、バス来た。さや、急ごう。待ってよ。
The bus was pulling into the roundabout as the two hurried out of the store. Those two sure can be noisy. I went over and picked up the object that Saya had dropped. I thought it might have been her wallet, but this is the letter. There was no mistaking it. There was the bunny sticker. But why does Saya have it? I was positive I saw it fall out of Saya's coat. This was definitely the same letter that Hikari had swiped from me. There was one thing that was different about it, though. The bunny sticker was torn. It was then that the shop owner came out of the back.
ソラミク、休憩してきていいわよ。
Hi. I put on an air of nonchalance and I slipped the letter into my apron's pocket and went on my break. When I got to my room upstairs, I took out the letter and stared at it. Hikari, you think a little squeezing your breast is enough to make up for having to listen to Miss Maharu lecture me for an hour? Besides, I hadn't done it with that intention anyway. Now, if she'd let me really get in there and take my time, that would have been a different story. But I wasn't about to demand that of her anyway. She'd label me a pervert for the rest of my life, I was sure. Which meant I'll have to read this instead. I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of girly-looking stationery. It really looked like a stereotypical love letter. I had never imagined Hikari as being the kind of girl to have such cute stationery before. I swallowed in anticipation. For 4 years, I hadn't been able to read or even throw away this letter. Now here it was in my hands. It was finally time to read it. My hands began to shake with nervousness. For a brief instant, I hesitated. But Hikari would be leaving Japan in a few days, and there was a slim chance I could go forever without knowing the truth of that day.
飽きちゃった。星とか見るのもう飽きちゃったんだ。だからもういいやって。ノートももう完成してるし、あとはさやと二人でやりなよ。じゃあね。
And folded the letter. For a child, the handwriting certainly looked careful and neat. I know this is sudden and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I wanted to know how you feel. That is why I am writing this letter. I have liked you for a long time now. Please go out with me. I'll be waiting in our usual spot on the bridge tomorrow. I would really like to hear your answer. It was actually a real love letter. I had expected an explanation about the truth of that day, but it was completely unrelated. A completely different truth, one that I had never expected, was written at the bottom of the letter. Saya Amanagawa. Saya was the one who wrote this letter? But Hikari is the one who gave it to me. Saya had written it and Hikari had given it to me. There was nothing strange about that. It was completely normal for a best friend to deliver a love letter in your place, which meant... Saya liked me? I had never expected anything like this. My mind went completely blank.
海の向こうへ旅立つ我らが同志、ほうき星ひかりさんの前途を祝して。乾杯！乾杯！
We all raised our juice-filled paper cups and toast.
いやや、どうもどうも。ひかりさんがいなくなると寂しくなります。短い間だったけど、一緒に部活できて楽しかったよ。
南半球の星座が見られるなんて羨ましいです。
行かないでよピカリン。ごめんねコロナ。その名前で呼んだこと許してあげるから、私のことも許してよ。やだ、チョップしていいから行かないで。
Corona threw her arms around Hikari, who hugged her back and gave her a reassuring pat on the head.
さやと仲良くするんだよ。さやをお姉ちゃんだと思って。いいだ。こいつね。ひかりさん、星の一生に比べるとあまりにも一瞬でしたが、共に活動できて本当に楽しかったわ。白鳥さん、けれど私たちはこれで終わりじゃない。むつら星の会、海外支部としての活躍に期待しているわ。任せてください。
Hikari gave a salute.
南十字星に南の空の星座たち、幻の鳳凰座流星群も見れちゃうかも。
I might even get to see Phoenixlid's meteor shower around the Phoenix constellation.
写真頼むよ。こないだ星の撮り方教えてやったでしょ。はい、
撮れたら送るんで、むつら星のブログに載せてくださいね。どんどんちょうだい。サイトが賑やかになりますね。むつら星の会の活動がよりグローバルになるわね。
You can't see the entire night sky from one place. There are many stars that can only be seen from the northern hemisphere, and just as many that can only be seen from the southern hemisphere. Apparently, the Southern Cross is just barely visible if you go to Okinawa, but it doesn't ever make it far above the horizon. If you really want to see it, you have to go somewhere in the southern hemisphere. Though I've heard that the real thing is actually pretty small, and you'd be disappointed if you're expecting something amazing. Today was Hikari's farewell party. but it was also a kind of post-party for the stargazing meetup the other day. All the Six Stars Club members were there, but there were a lot of guests from the meetup as well. Even Takeichi, who'd gotten his heart broken by Naru, came to help give Hikari a nice send-off.
飲み物足んないね。
そうですね。コンビニで買ってきましょうか。
ああ、俺行きます。
Until then, Takeichi had been looking a little uncomfortable. He jumped at this, however. He didn't really have an interest in astronomy and couldn't keep up with the conversation. He probably just wanted an excuse to get some fresh air.
私行くよ。コンビニに用事あるし。
Takeichi stumbled over his words for a moment. He'd been trying to avoid Naru the whole night.
じゃあ2人で行っといでよ。タケは荷物持ちってことで。
荷物持ちならうちの一連がいるけど。
いや、俺行きます。俺もコンビニに用事あるんで。
そう。じゃあよろしく。
Should I go too?
あんたはいいの。
Hikari grabbed my arm and stopped me from leaving. What are you doing?
空気読みなさい。
I thought that was exactly what I'd been doing. That's why I offered to go. I whispered my protestation in Hikari's ear. Taki is going to feel awkward with just the two of them.
そんなことないわよ。よく見てみなさい。タケの顔。
Takeichi didn't look annoyed at all by the turn of events as he followed Naru out the door.
ジンノさん、確かにあの後輩くんと仲いいけど、付き合ってるとかじゃなさそうなんだよね。まだあれ、脈あるわよ。
You think so? I wasn't completely convinced, but I also hadn't been paying attention closely, so I couldn't be sure.
それより、壁んとこでサヤが寂しそうにしてるよ。
Oh, you're right. Saya doesn't do well at these kind of events. She's pretty shy around strangers. She got a little late, and she's still not that close with the other members.
サヤ
Hikari dragged me by the arm over to where Saya was standing. Hikari?
ー。飲んでる？うん、飲んでるよ、ウーロン茶。ねえ、サヤ。アキトのことそろそろ許してやってよ。OL のふりしてた私も悪いんだからさ。
Saya seemed to be studying my face.
それにさ、あんたたちが喧嘩したままじゃ心配で日本を離れられないよ。だからね。うん、分かった。でも今回だけだよ、アキトくん。
Right.
どうしたの、アキト。なんか顔赤いよ。
Namdamanai, leave me alone. I casually shook off Hikari's grip on my arm and turned away from Saya. I couldn't look her in the eye right now. It was all because I read that letter earlier. I have liked you for a long time now. Please go out with me. I glanced towards Saya out of the corner of my eye. Saya had her head tilted to the side and was looking back at me confused. I couldn't take that cute stare of hers and couldn't help but look away. Then Saya sort of deflated. Saya, come in aside. I'm not sure what's wrong, but I didn't mean to make you feel down.
アキトくん怒ってるの。OL さんと仲良くしてたくらいで私が冷たい態度取ったりしたから。だから呆れちゃったんでしょ。そうなの？
No, of course not.
じゃあなんでサヤをいじめるか。
I'm not teasing her.
だったらいつもみたいにサヤにいい子いい子してあげなさい。
Huh? I guess that since I was acting so weird around her, she thought I didn't want to pat her on the head anymore or something. That's not... The look in Saya's eyes as she looked at me was extremely sad. I raised a trembling hand and gave Saya a pat on the head. Her hair was even softer and silkier than I remembered. Saya's face slowly softened, and I could almost hear her mood change. She reminded me a bit of Kotaru. Is that better?
いい？満足した。満足したって。
What are you, her translator now?
サヤの保護者？
That's cute coming from you. I always thought Saya was the one who looked after Hikari. Noriko's voice suddenly erupted from the other side of the room. She was literally trembling in amazement. She was usually pretty quiet, but from time to time, her reactions could be a little over the top.
今日のパーティーのために北海道から取り寄せましたの。さあ、皆さんも召し上がれ。
Everyone started swarming around the amazingly delicious cheesecake. Apparently, it had a fancy name like fromage or something like that.
私も。
You don't have to panic. I'm sure there's plenty for everyone. We weren't going to eat it all before the guest of honor got to have some. Nah? Saya gave me one last questioning glance before she hurried off after Hikari. I knew things were going to feel weird. When Saya was standing in front of me, I couldn't help but think of that letter. No matter how much I tried to act naturally, there was no hiding it from a longtime friend. It's times like these that childhood friends are a pain. I muttered under my breath as I went to get a piece of cheesecake for myself.
それでは皆様、縁も竹縄ですが、そろそろお開きの時間ですわ。
Everybody let out a disgruntled groan. Otohime nodded in satisfaction at everyone's response. It was almost like they had an unspoken agreement.
名残惜しいけれど、日は昇り、また沈みゆくもの。天体の運行を止めることは誰にもできません。最後に、ひかりさんから別れの挨拶をいただきたいと思います。
Hikari was stuffing leftover cheesecake into her face, as was her right, but froze at her name. She moved to the front with plate and fork still in hand.
ビシッと決めてよね。
ほうき星さん、ファイト。ヒカリン。ちょっと待ってね。ヒカリ、後にしなよ。
Saya looked a bit embarrassed as she stepped forward to take Hikari's plate and fork.
いやいや、どうもどうも、ほうき星ひかりです。知ってます。
Hanukkah poked back at Hikari's little joke, earning a little chuckle from everyone. Hikari scratched her head, embarrassed to be up in front of everyone.
私は子供の頃に天体観測の楽しさを知って、けどそれからいろいろあって、しばらくあまり星を見てませんでした。そんな私がひょんなことからむつら星の会と出会い、おかげでまた星を見ることができました。いやー、やっぱいいですね、星。
Otohime was nodding her head enthusiastically, a big smile on her face.
一人で見る星はちょっと寂しいけれど、みんなで見る星は賑やかで楽しかった。私は遠く南の国へ行ってしまいますが、でも心はこの星の中に置いていきます。あっちに行っても一緒に空を見上げましょう。
Hikari did a couple mock bows as everyone applauded her speech.
また帰ってくるんだよね。うん、そのつもりだよ。お待ちしてますね。それまでむつら星の会を我々で守っていきますから。ひかりさんたちはむつら星の未来を担っていく次の世代、期待して。はい。
By the time Hikari gets back, Otohime will have graduated and moved on. Noriko, and Kaisuke were second years, so they'll have retired from the club as well. The only ones left of the current Six Stars Club would be the current first years like Hanuka, Saya, and myself. It was a bit sad to consider, but she would most certainly add something to the group again when she came back. That was the kind of person she was.
みんな本当にありがとう。
With one final magnificent applause, the farewell party came to a close.
それじゃあほうき星さん、向こうに行っても元気でね。のりちゃん先輩も元気でね。
Everyone stopped to say a few last words or shake Hikari's hands as they headed home.
楽しかった。送別会ってしんみりしてて苦手だったけど、今日のは全然そんなことなかったね。
They're only boring when the person getting the send-off is boring, you know?
なーにょ
Hikari was still in high spirits from the party and lunged to grab me, but I jumped out of the way and ran off.
素早いやつ。
What's the matter? All that cake slowing you down?
女の子になんてこと言うの？デリカシーなさすぎでしょ。この
Hikari let out a burst of speed as she chased after me. I managed to get away, though.
転ぶよ。
Saya just watched the scene with a grin on her face.
捕まえた。
Whoa, I don't think so! I just barely slipped past Hikari's grasp and ran behind Saya to use her as a shield.
おりゃー。
Hikari ended up running straight into Saya, wrapping her arms around her.
さやいい匂い。ほんのり甘い香りがする。やだ、匂い嗅がないで。
Saya pushed Hikari away.
ええやないか、ええやないか。
Hikari tried to go in for another sniff, but Saya threw her hands to keep her away.
もう。さやたんかわゆいの。こんなかわゆい子を日本に残していくなんてちょっと心配だな。
Hikari said this in a tone that made it sound a little rehearsed.
いっそあんたたち二人が付き合ってくれれば安心なんだけど。ちょっと
Knock it off.
秋人くん。
You shouldn't just blurt out whatever comes to mind without thinking about it first.
ごめん。でもなんでおばちゃん口調？
Jeez, you should really work on that. I could feel my face getting hot, so I had to turn away as I said this. Hikari and Saya both looked at me like I was acting strangely. This was bad. I felt like I was revealing more than I wanted to. I think I'll wait here and go home with Taki and the others.
え、なんでよ。
Oh, I just figured you two still had some things you wanted to talk about alone.
朝のうちにだいたい済ませたよ。
What is taking Taki and the others so long? Even I could tell that I wasn't fooling anyone with my terrible acting. I knew that was the case, but I was doing the best I could considering the pressure I was under.
行こう、光。でも。
Saya grabbed her arm and led her away from me.
じゃあね、また連絡するから。またね、バイバイ。
Good night. Be careful on your way home. I stayed behind to wait for Takeichi as they got on the bus and headed home. I feel so uncool right now. When they were out of sight, I let out another quiet sigh. Ever since I had read that letter, I've been unable to control my feelings. I hadn't had enough time to prepare myself before seeing Hikari and Saya again at the party, and this was the result. I'll have to tell Hikari the truth later. I decided to wait until I knew the two of them were no longer together before sending a message. After thinking it over, I started wondering what was taking Takeichi so long. Hikari had told him to stay behind and help Naru and the others clean up after the party. He'd complained, but he had done what she said in the end. I guess I'll go lend a hand too. I needed something to do to take my mind off of the situation at hand anyway, so I made my way back inside. Welcome!
読んじゃったってどういうことよ。
Too angry to wait for the automatic door, Hikari burst into the store. Hey, did you come back on purpose?
これが戻らずにいられますかっての。どういうことか説明してもらおうじゃないの。
Wait, calm down, we're in public. I brought Hikari over to the cafe space and sat her down. She was like an angry dog. She was even panting like one. Open up.
あ
I put some chocolate in her mouth.
甘い。
Once Hikari calmed down, I pulled out the love letter from my pocket and explained how I had picked it up. So I just picked it up after Saya dropped it.
それであんた、今日ずっとさやに対する態度が変だったんだ。
As Hikari swallowed the information along with the chocolate, she looked at me with hateful eyes. Why didn't you tell me when you gave it to me? I thought you wrote it this whole time.
だって読めばわかるじゃん、そんなの。読まないなんて思わないでしょ、普通。
I hated hearing that, but as for this letter, not reading had been a perfectly reasonable choice. Hikari and I had basically gone our separate ways at that point. Why did you give this to me, Hikari?
ずっと相談に乗ってあげてたのよ、さやの。それであの子、自分じゃ渡せないって言うから。
Listening to her? Hikari looked at me as if to say, You're really asking that?
6年の2学期よ。さやが急に私に聞いてきたの。アキトのことどう思ってるのかって。最初意味わかんなくて、バカだなって思ってるよって答えたんだけど、そういうんじゃないって言われて。好きかどうかって聞かれたの。
What a shock. And?
好きだよって答えた。じゃなきゃ遊ばないよって言ったら、それも違うって言うんだよね。それでまあ、なんだ、さやの気持ちを聞いたわけよ、私は。でも私、そういうのよくわかんないし、とりあえずさやとアキトが仲良くなれるようアシストしてみたのよ。
Like you did with Take today? Hikari nodded. Her help didn't seem necessary, but Takichi didn't seem to mind too much. He looked happy going home, telling me he was going shopping with Naru. It wasn't so bad that she set up that chance for Takichi, but... We're not talking about Take. So you were assisting Saya or whatever?
してたよ。でもあんた全然気づかないんだもん。
Even being told this, I had no recollection. For example...
ジュース回し飲みした時とか。飲む？うん、ありがとう。アキトも飲みなよ。
Oh, arigatou gozaimasu.
にやり。やーいやーい。さやとアキトが関節キス。
Knock it off.
関節キスしたから、あんたたちもう夫婦だね。
Then you are too, Hikari. This is your drink.
あ、じゃあ、私たち3人で夫婦
Was that my fault somehow?
あれおかしいな。私の記憶では今の今までゴール前にドンピシャのクロスボールを上げたことになってたんだけど。待ってまだだから、あの頃はまだ慣れてなかっただけで、他にもあるよ。いいさや、アキトが来たら落ちそうになってるふりするんだよ。私が手を離すから下でアキトに受け止めてもらうの。危なくないかな。うまくいったらお姫様抱っこだよ。お姫様抱っこやる。よし。
Hey, you two up there already?
来たよ、早く。怖いよー。
Hey, what's going on?
アキト、大変だよ。さやがまた落ちそうになってるの。お願い、助けて
Hang on, Saya. Saya!
待って、来ないでアク。風です。スカートが。さや、パンツ丸見えになってる。うやー、見ないで。
Hey, hey, settle down. Don't kick me.
やだやだやだ。危ない、本当に落ちるって、さや。さや、大丈夫？大丈夫。
Ugh.
アキト、しっかりしろ、アキト。
I remember I stopped Saya falling, but I hit my head and got a huge lump. I just glared at Hikari.
ほら、ナイスアシストだったでしょうに。
You're terrible at this. You have a ruinous inability to help people with love. You should quit. Hikari rolled back with a hand on her chest at my cold words.
でも、あの後さや喜んでたよ。アキトが命がけで助けてくれたって。
Of course I did. What would you have done if something happened? I didn't want to see Saya get hurt. I'd do anything to stop that.
あっくんのこと前より好きになっちゃったって言って赤くなってるさや可愛かったよ。
I had to admit it was cute. Saya is always cute. The only thing I could think of cuter than Saya was Kotaru as a puppy.
ああ、いいなあ。私がさやと付き合いたいよ。そしたら毎日いい子するのに。
Could you have assisted with those words as well?
あの言
Like when you said you were tired of looking at the stars?
葉、
The smile left Hikari's face. It looked like I was right.
さやとアキトがうまくいかないのって私のせいかもしれないって思ってて、それで
I got angry. It's like Hikari knew everything I wanted to say from my reproachful gaze.
ごめん。そのせいでアキトを傷つけちゃったんだよね。
Yeah, I got really hurt. I thought you were my best friend, but it hurt when you betrayed me like that.
ごめんなさい。
Hikari apologized dejectedly.
もう引っ越すの決まってたし、それなら私がアキトから離れればさやとうまくいくんじゃないかって思ったの。うまくいってほしかったの、二人に。私がいなくなった後も仲良く幸せでいてほしかったから。
But I swallowed the words I was about to say.
分かってるよ。そんなのは私のエゴの押し付けだって。
You don't have to be sorry. You were thinking of Saya and I, right? I'm happy about that. Now I really understood why Hikari did what she did. We finally reached the real subject, but I was not feeling very good about it. I opened the letter and read it again. I'll be waiting in our usual spot on the bridge tomorrow. I would really like to hear your answer. I never read the letter, so of course I never replied to Saya. You gave this letter back to Saya, right? What did she say?
ね。
It looked hard for Hikari to say.
やっぱちょっとショック受けてたかな。でもそんなでもなかったよ。拍子抜けした感じで。そうだったんだ。ごめんねさや。私が渡す時にちゃんと言っておかなかったから。光が謝ることじゃないよ。名前書いておかなかった私が悪いんだし。私に自分で渡す勇気があればよかったんだし。でもそっか、私振られたわけじゃなかったんだ。 絶対泣くって思ってたから、ちょっと意外だった。
That was 4 years ago. It was a lot of Saya to ask of you, to give me that letter. It was when we were kids. A time when we liked each other because we ran fast on sports all day, on sports day, or our voice was pretty when we read a poem in class. It wasn't surprising that Hikari had been so eager to recover this letter. If this love letter from back then had come to light only now, Saya was the one who would be hurt the most. No wonder Hikari had tried to steal it. Looking at the letter, I felt a little sad. Saya had been waiting for my reply down at the bridge all day, the bridge where we had always met and gone to watch the stars. That bridge isn't even there anymore. Thinking that Saya's young crush disappeared along with it makes me sad. Just how long did Saya wait at that bridge for me who never showed up? I'm sure she waited a while. A long time, sad and lonely. That's the kind of girl she is. Saya and I became estranged after that. We were too old as boys and girls to play together, so you were gone, Hikari. I always thought that was why.
さやはアキトに振られたって思ってたんだよ。
Oh boy. Will you help me with something? I want to apologize to Saya.
そうだね。二人のためなら何だってするよ。
Thanks, Hikari. It was times like this that I was pretty grateful to have such a forgiving friend.
その前にさ、
Hikari said this suddenly calm.
私にも軽く謝ってもらってもいいかな。
For what?
前にあんたがその手紙の話した時さ、私があんたに振られたみたいな空気にしたじゃない。
Huh? There's something I want to ask. Do you still like me? I had said that, but I had thought it was Hikari's love letter, so I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it, but remembering it is still embarrassing.
結構傷ついたんだよ。でもさやの手前、本当のこと言えないし。なんで告白したわけでもないのに振られなきゃいけないのよ。もう。
I got it. I bowed my head and apologized.
許す。
Hikari forgave me with a grumpy face. The new year was upon us. For the first 3 days, I didn't do anything. Even the so-called convenience store was closed for the new year. I stayed in my room on New Year's Day and ate New Year's food from the Sayotomes. My late mother's New Year's cooking was white miso flavor, but the Sayotomes was a thin soy base. There was nicely browned chicken in a plain soup. It was a new flavor for me. After that, I said my prayers with Mrs. Miharu at this shrine nearby. Even though she was stingy with giving money, she prayed seriously. The second was more of the same. The third day was the problem. I visited my relatives who were my guardians. The reason I didn't go on New Year's Day was that I didn't want to break up the family spirit. I was being considerate, but also part of me didn't think I could stand it myself. That being said, I had to at least pay a visit. I visited my relatives' house around noon and told them how things were at my new place and went home. The first 3 days of the new year had passed just like that. Then it was the night of the 4th of January. The convenience store had opened today. I worked my part-time job from morning until night. I looked at my watch, it was almost closing time. Fidgeting, I watched outside the window. I heard the train arrive at the station. After a while, a person's shadow passed by the window. It was Hikari. I was relieved that Hikari had come first.
おっす小太郎、あっけおめ今夜は一段と冷えますな。ちょっとモフモフさせろ。わしわしわしわしゃ。うひひ、いい毛並みしてまんな。
What is she doing? Hikari was playing with Kotaru and not coming into the store. I stood there fidgeting. Kotaru's barking got high-pitched. As I moved my gaze to the window, I saw Saya walking up. Oh man, now Saya's here. Hearing my heart pound, I got my poker face ready to greet her.
さや、明けおめ。明けましておめでとう、ひかり。コタちゃんもおめでとう。
I was relieved for now that Saya didn't come in on her own. That was the first time I'd seen Saya since Hikari's going away party. The situation with the letter was bad, so I hadn't called her, and Saya must have been pretty busy, and she hadn't shown up at the store. The only communication we had shared was a few text messages.
明けましておめでとうございます。今年もよろしくお願いします。
Happy New Year to you too.
年賀状いつもいらないって言うから今年も用意してないけど。
It's okay, I don't like writing replies.
わかった。
And that was it. Saya's family always gathered at her grandmother's house for New Year's celebrations. Every year, Saya helped her mother greet relatives for the first 3 days of the new year. They finally came into the store.
寒い。冷えるね。
Welcome. I greeted them with a grumpy voice. It was a little annoyed at being ignored.
明けおめ。明けましておめでとう、秋田くん。
Happy New Year. Have a good one.
なんか機嫌悪い？
No, same as always. Saya brought over a shopping bag.
はいこれ、おばあちゃん家でついたお餅だよ。先生と一緒に食べて。
Oh, arigato.
いいのいいの。
Hikari looked at the bag greedily. I'll be done soon. You can wait over there. You want some coffee?
おしっこ近くなっちゃうからな。
I made a coffee for each of them and brought it over. Sitting down in the chairs in the cafe corner, they wrapped their hands around the cups to warm themselves. How was it? Have you seen any?
まだわかんない。私もまだ一つも見てない。
I see. I wonder about this year. I said this looking at the blackness outside. It was the 4th of January, the best day for the quadranted meteor shower. The 3 of us were going out to watch it tonight. Meteor showers had a peak time, where you could hopefully see many shooting stars. There were predictions for the peak time every year, and the prediction for the quadranted's peak time this year was today. That was my excuse to meet Saya, and my mission was to apologize about the letter. When I thought of Saya's personality, she'd probably cry if the letter was brought up. I was not confident I could apologize well either, so I wanted a quiet place that we could talk. It was my idea to have Hikari here so things seemed normal when we met to help out if things got weird. Saya might cry or she might get mad at me. It would be my own fault if she hated me then, but if Saya got hurt, I wanted someone there to comfort her. The only person for that was Hikari. So I made the plan to watch the meteor shower. Well, I'm sure we'd have gotten together even without the letter. Hikari would be leaving Japan the day after tomorrow. It would be a very long time until the 3 of us had another chance to watch the stars together. It was time for the store to close. The only customers in the store were Hikari and Saya. I'm closing up, so wait outside.
わかった。
We climbed onto the roof of the car, laid out our sheet, and laid down wrapped in the sleeping bags and blankets. This was the right way to watch a meteor shower. Looking up hurts your neck, and it's too cold just to stand outside. Also, you don't know where the meteors will pass by, so it's best to be able to see the whole sky. The meteor showers all have names, like the Leonids or the Geminids. They're named for the radiant point, the place in the sky they fall from, and which constellation it's closest to. So usually it's best to look at the constellation that's near the radiant point, but in reality meteors could appear anywhere in the sky. When I was little, I used to try and watch the radiant point with a telescope. However, I remember being disappointed that I never caught a meteor in a narrow field of view. By the way, well, one would assume the radiant point for the quadrantid meteor shower would be Quadrans Muralis, but that's not actually the case. The Quadrans Muralis constellation isn't even recognized anymore. Quadrans Muralis was originally named after a quadrant, a fan-shaped device that can measure the altitude of celestial bodies. However, Quadratus Muralis was left out of today's recognized 88 constellations. But the name has been preserved in the name of the meteor shower. The quadrantid's radiant point is closest to the Draco, so it's also sometimes called the meteor shower of Draco.
あんまり流れないね。
It'll pick up soon, won't it?
あ、今流れた。え、嘘、どこどこ？もう消えちゃったよ。私の頭の上の方。見逃した。
Usually when watching meteor showers, each person watches a different angle and counts the meteors they see. But this time we were just watching for fun, so we weren't so strict about where we were looking. But still, it was a habit of astronomers to naturally divide up the sky. The peak time this year was already this afternoon, so we couldn't get our hopes up. The Quadrantids, along with the Perseids and the Geminids, are known as the three most active meteor showers. But for the Quadrantids, a peak time is only a few hours long, so having those few hours fall during the day, it was a bit disappointing.
もうそろそろ月も沈んでる頃だよね。
As with all astronomical observations, moonlight gets in the way of meteor watching. The number of meteors you can see changes depending on if the moon is out or not.
光、どうかした？うん。
Hikari answered gloomily.
星の中の空もずいぶん暗くなったなって。前にもさ、四分ギザ流星群見たじゃない？あの時はもっと星が見えてた気がする。
Hikari wasn't wrong about that. The visible stars had definitely decreased. Hoshinonaka City had grown quickly in the last few years. And compared with when Hoshino City and Emonaka City were separate, the roads had improved and there was more streetlights. There were more shops open late, and there were more bright lights than before. Even the Sayatome's shop was now the stop-and-buy convenience store. Therefore, the night sky was darker than before. Some of the fainter stars had been erased by city lights, as if they were hiding somewhere.
この間の観測会の夜はすごくいっぱい星が見えたじゃない。そうだね。綺麗だったね。
Hikari smiled slightly, remembering the bright starry sky of that night.
あんな夜もあるんだから、まだまだ捨てたもんじゃないね。
Maybe even special nights like that would be swallowed someday by the lights of the city. It was like I could feel her thoughts hidden behind her smile. It can't be helped. To gain something, you lose something. That's how it is. I said this logically, but it didn't make me feel better. What did it matter to most people that the sky was darker or that you could see less meteors? To them, what we gained in return was so much greater. However, when I looked at the slightly darker sky and thought of the stars I couldn't see anymore, I couldn't help feeling sad. I worried that one day I wouldn't be able to see any stars at all.
やっぱ行くのやめようかな。
Hikari said this suddenly.
アキトとサヤとまた遊ぶようになったって話したらね。お父さんが無理してついてくることないぞって。帰ってくる頃にはここから見る夜空が今夜よりも暗く寂しくなってるかもしれない。今ならまだ取り消せる。アキトとサヤともっと見ていたいよ、星を。
If she could stay, it would be so great. I'm sure that Saya and I felt the same way.
お父さんのこと大事にしなよ。
That's right. That's why you decided to go in the first place, isn't it? Still lying down, Hikari looked at me with a sulking face. What's with that face?
だって二人とも止めてくれないんだもん。 冷たい。今の気温みたいに冷たい。
She spoke like a spoiled child. But Saya and I had reasons for not stopping her. Both my parents died in an accident, and Saya's parents were divorced. She hadn't seen her father in many years.
光がついてきてくれないと、お父さん、すごく寂しがると思うよ。うん。
Hikary's father was crazy about his two daughters. He had an especially soft spot for Hikari, the youngest. Hikari was always Daddy's girl. The reason she liked trains was because her father was a railway man.
離れてても、ずっと友達だよ。さや。
Hikari, we won't forget you. Just as I said that in a cold voice, a meteor streaked right across in front of our eyes.
ちょっと、何今のタイミング。私が死んじゃったみたいじゃん。
Farewell, Hikari.
あなたの分も強く生きていくからね。もう二人ともバカバカ。せっかく人がしんみりといい話してんのに茶化さないでよ。
Come ahead, Asai.
いつもふざけてるのに急に真面目な話するからなんか照れくさくて。もうごめんね光。よしよし、いい子いい子。
Saya was petting Hickory's gloomy head. It was the opposite of what normally happened. The idea that we wouldn't be able to do this anymore made me sad.
ねえ、次流星が流れたらみんなで何か願い事しようよ。どんな願い事？
Right, how about we can all watch the Quadrantes here together again?
それいい。そうしよう。
We hadn't wished on a falling star since we were kids. We waited in stillness for the next star to fall.
今流れたよ。見た？見た。カペラのそばすごく明るかった。
It was brighter than Capella. Capella is the alpha star of Auriga. It's a first magnitude star, and its name means little goat. To have been brighter than that, it must have been a pretty big meteor. Meteors are matter from space that crash into the Earth's atmosphere. They can be as small as grains of sand. However, the bigger they are, the more light they emit. They can sometimes be bright enough to light up the night sky like it was daytime.
そうだ、願い事しなきゃ。
Surprised by the unexpectedly bright meteor, we quickly closed our eyes.
またこの場所で3人揃って流星群が見られますように。
With our eyelids closed, we all sincerely made our wish. That wish was our promise. We had vowed that on that shooting star, we would meet here again. It was just before dawn. The sky had begun to whiten from the south. The sky had been hidden by mist for a time, which made us all fall asleep, bundled on the car. When we all woke up, we started preparing breakfast. We simmered some instant soup in a little pot, making an improvised zoni with the rice cakes I got from Sai.
いい匂い。
The rice cakes will take a little longer to cook. What do you want to do, Saya?
中で髪の毛直してる。
Morning had come and we were watching the meteor shower, but I hadn't forgotten the real reason I was here. Now was my chance. Hikari. Hikari put her index finger up wordlessly. She poked her head into the entrance of the car and spoke to Saya.
さや、私ちょっと野の花を摘みに行ってくるね。
Can't you come up with a better excuse?
本当じゃないからね。じゃあね、グッドラック。
Hikari slapped me on the back and ran into the forest. At the same time, Saya came out. Her hair was set prettily.
何か手伝うことある？
Right, I'd be happy if you'd just talk to me.
いいよ。
Saya came and plopped down next to me on the ground. She took a peek into the simmering pot. She seemed as innocent as ever, and it made me a little nervous.
さすがに朝は冷えるね。
Yeah, being here this early reminds me of back then. Back when we made our planetary observation journal, we used to stay up until dawn and come up here to observe the morning stars. But there was no sign of Venus this morning. At this time, Venus was following the sun, so the only time to see it would be dusk, a so-called evening star. I tried to figure out the best timing as I kept the rice cakes from sticking to the pot with a spoon. Although I couldn't quite seem to speak. Saya was looking at me as if to say, "You wanted to talk to me?" Um, hmm. Hey, Saya, I owe you an apology. Saya tilted her head to the side with confusion. What I mean is, I was finding it difficult to put it into words, so I pulled out the thing that had been hidden in my pocket and showed it to her. I sort of read this. Saya seemed shocked for a moment, but went quiet like she didn't know how to reply. Gomenasai. Still seated, I leaned towards Saya.
やっぱりアキト君が拾ってたんだ。
I thought Saya would be upset, but it seemed she already knew. That's why she stayed away from the store so long.
でもどうして謝るの？
I just read the letter when I found it, and I thought you might be annoyed to have a letter you wrote 4 years ago only be read now. Saya looked troubled. Also, you waited a long time, didn't you? On that bridge.
待ってたよ。あっくんが来るの。
It's because I didn't read the letter when I got it, so I'm sorry.
でもあっくんが謝ることじゃないよ。だって自由だもん。もらった手紙を読まないのも、読んで返事しないのも。
So aren't I free to apologize then?
そうだね。
I was surprised when I read it. I didn't think you felt that way about me. At the time, I didn't see her as a girl. It was all the more unexpected because she was my closest friend.
私ずっと振られたんだって思ってた。あっくん来なかったから。あっくんのこと困らせちゃったって。
So that's why you avoided me after Hikari left. She nodded. I had thought my estrangement from Saya was because Hikari was gone, or because she was embarrassed to hang out with the boys at that age. But Saya's reasons were completely different. It was extremely simple. She avoided me because she thought she'd been turned down. I'm really sorry. I apologized again. Saya was such an important friend, I can't believe I'd made her feel that way.
悪いのはちゃんと自分で渡せなかった私だし、アキト君が謝ることじゃないよ。でも違ったんだね。振られたわけじゃなかったんだ。
You can be angry at me, you know.
何を怒るの？
I don't know, like, you made me wait, or whatever. Or like, how could you bring that up now? It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense.
わかんないよ、怒り方なんて。
Yeah, you are a kind one, Saya. Puffing out her cheeks and glaring was the angriest Saya could ever look. Or you could hit me. Don't women slap men in the face at times like this?
されたいの？
Don't look at me like I'm a pervert. I was just speaking in hypotheticals. Hypotheticals!
わかった。する。
Saya said this like she was a little eager. She raised her right hand and gave a practice swing, but it didn't look powerful at all. Snap your wrist more.
こう？
That one made a whooshing sound. It sounded like it had some power. Yeah, that's the way. The fact that I was the one getting smacked, but I was showing her how to do it was harder. Actually made me feel a little like some kind of weirdo. But I thought Saya would feel better if it had a good sound to it.
じゃあ行くよ。
Yeah, bring it. She drew her hand way back. She brought her palm down with a snap. Mm. Waiting for the coming attack, I closed my eyes in response. Hmm? The attack, however, was not what I expected. A soft, enveloping feeling. Feeling warmth on my lips, I opened my eyes. Saya's pretty face was right in front of me, and there was warmth on my lips. My lips, nearly frozen from the cold morning air, felt like a warm softness was melting them. It took me a few seconds to realize it was Saya's lips. A sigh escaped from between our lips. I was frozen in place with surprise, and Saya's eyes opened right in front of mine. I gazed into Saya's jewel-like eyes from up close. So beautiful, I couldn't help but stare. I forget what I was doing, or even how I got into this situation in the first place. None of it mattered anymore. I just wanted to surrender myself to that heat in her lips and the beauty of her multicolored eyes, as pure as springs.
たっだいまー。さやちゃん、そんなに怒っちゃダメだよ。アキトも反省してるみたいだし、ここは早乙女の豚まんでもおごってもらってさ、それできれいさっぱり。あれ
Saya, Hikari can see us. I wanted to cry out, but I couldn't with my lips covered. I couldn't even breathe. It had been our plan for Hikari to return about now. It might be awkward after I apologize. Come back after a little while.
わかったわ。
Best laid plans and all that. Our half plan wasn't ready for this unexpected situation. Hikari and I were just frozen. Saya parted her lips from mine and spoke in a quiet voice.
今も変わってない。私の気持ちはあの頃のままだよ。
Saya murmured. Then she turned her back on me and ran straight past Hikari. Saya! I tried to chase after her. I tripped on my own feet and took a huge spill. My brain was totally overheated and I lost proper judgment.
えーっと
Hikari didn't chase Saya either. It was like she was just frozen on the spot. Still sprawled on the ground, I looked at the sky. All the stars that were there had, at some point, disappeared. The ground, cool from the morning air, felt nice on my burning head and body. Kotaru saw Hikari and stood up, wagging his tail. Hikari moved closer and started petting Kotaru.
よしよし小太郎。
As the night ended and the morning sun crested the horizon, the beautiful twilight sky was strained with mourning. It was as if a spell was broken. We had split the breakfast in improvised zoni and had come back down from the mountain. We barely spoke the entire time, because we were both intensely embarrassed. Hikari had caught Saya and I kissing, and for me, Hikari had been caught up, and for me, Hikari had seen me in that situation. I wonder if she got home okay alone. Thinking about it, I started getting myself worried. Hikari silently took out her smartphone and started tapping. It looked like she was sending a text. Listen, I'm sorry.
うん、私の方こそ。
Our conversation didn't continue. I'm sure she was just as surprised as I would. Neither of us could find the words. Hikary's smartphone made a sound. Hikari looked at the screen and busily entered something. I watched for a while and Hikari turned the screen to me.
ちゃんと家帰れた？
帰れたよ。心配かけてごめん。
それより大丈夫。
わかんない。
一緒にいようか？
いい。一人にさせて。
わかった。
ごめんね。見送り行けなくて。あんなことしちゃって恥ずかしくて。アキトくんと顔合わせられない。私のバカバカバカ。
だって。
It looked like once Saya was alone again and having calmed down a little, she had started to feel embarrassed about it all.
でもよかったよ。さやの気持ちやっとアキトに伝わったし。
Still haven't changed. My feelings haven't changed one bit. Yeah. Without any confusion or doubt, that was how Saya confessed her feelings. The kiss, more clear than a love letter, demonstrated that.
あとはアキト次第だね。
I spied a bit of color in Hikari's face as she said this. I'll think about it once I've settled down. It was so sudden I couldn't think about anything. I could hear the train on the rails getting louder as it got closer. Hearing it, Hikari stopped petting Kotaru and stood up.
さてと行かなきゃ。
She said this in a crisp voice. But this would be the last time I'd see Hikari for a long time. Have fun.
アキトもね。
She made a fist and bumped my shoulder.
まあ1年くらいで戻ってくるし、スマホもネットもあるから、寂しくなったらいつでも声かけてよ、コマコさんに。
Coming back to herself a little, she joked around. Yeah, I'll do that. I guess first I'll ask you for love advice. I was starting to film myself again, too. Hikari gave a strained smile.
そういうマジな相談も大歓迎だよ。何せ人生経験豊富な都会の OL だから、コマコさんは。
Yeah, I'm counting on that. We joked with each other and laughed to lighten the mood.
さやのことよろしくね。あの子は私の大切な親友だから。泣かせたら承知しないわよ。
I'll keep it in mind.
みんなにもよろしく。
はい。
小太郎、お前も元気でね。
Hikari waved to Kotaru and me, then ran to the ticket gate at the station. The train was already arriving at the station. I thought she was hurrying, but Hikari suddenly stopped.
あの約束忘れないでね。
Promise?
またこの場所で3人揃って。
流星群が見られますように。
Don't you forget either. Hikari smiled happily when I answered.
何があっても私たち3人ずっと一緒だからね。
Hikari gave one more big wave, then raced to the ticket gate. Is she gonna make it? Just in case, I watched the train leave. It seemed like Hikari made it, so I was relieved. Hi. It was about time for work. I opened the store, starting the day like always. I would get in touch with Saya later, once things had cooled down a little. While I was still hurting from seeing Hikari off, I didn't think I could give a clear answer. A comet is coming in close. The Earth is in danger. That was all over the internet as the start of the year. a large comet was going to come to pass between the Earth and the Moon. Well, one theory said that due to the comet, the Earth would change so much that it would bring humanity to the brink of destruction. People had started to panic, but in the end, everything had just gone back to normal in a few days. Let's say that, hypothetically, a comet did pass the Earth. If it actually grazed the Moon or the Earth, it would be a big problem. But if it just passed through empty space, then nothing extraordinary would happen at all. It was not the first time that a comet had caused people to panic. About 100 years ago, the famous Halley's Comet had swooped by somewhat close to the Earth, causing people to panic. False rumors began to spread, such as when the Earth was to pass through the comet's tail, the air would become poisonous. As the rumors spread, people panicked and were doing things such as buying up bike tire tubes and the like. Since ancient times, comets such as Halley's are often called hukiboshi. They have been constantly thought of as ill omens. There are people who think that comets are similar meteors, and actually, they are not so far off. Meteors are small celestial bodies that emit light when they fall into the atmosphere. However, comets are farther away and don't come into contact with the atmosphere. The way they emit light is different from meteors. There are other people who imagine that comets are like the parents of meteors simply because their names and their looks are similar. But it wouldn't be so wrong to think of them like parents. Comets are loose piles of cosmic debris that give off gases while flying through space. Comets leave behind dust trails, and when those interact with the Earth, a certain astronomical phenomenon occurs: a meteor shower. A meteor shower is where the Earth passes through the dust left behind by a comet. As this dust enters the atmosphere, it appears as many shooting stars. We can see these beautiful meteor showers because of comets. For better or worse, comets sure make a ruckus. This year's end of the world prediction was just a farce, and anyone who was interested in astronomy would know that a comet like that doesn't exist. But there was another comet coming toward us. With all the data that we'd gathered, this Hukabushi wasn't exactly a bad omen, though I wouldn't say that it wouldn't make a ruckus. Certainly an amateur astronomer like myself could predict that this comet would liven up our tranquil little lives. When the bell rang at the end of the day, the school doors opened and the students started to leave like an avalanche. I left the classroom labeled 2-4 with my bag on my shoulder.
Matana, Surami!
Jane! My classmates chatted with each other as they wandered off to their club activities. I headed off in a different direction. I was going to the astronomy club room in the second school building. Heyo!
こんにちは。
うっす。
I set my bag down and took a seat. Hinami stood up and prepared some tea after boiling water in the electric kettle.
どうぞ部長。
Arigato, Hinami.
ああ、俺も。
どうぞ。コロナのお兄さん。
Thank you.
Takiichi picked up the teacup he got from Hinami and took a sip while eating his melon bread. He was looking at his phone pretty seriously. Hey! Hinami returned to her seat and opened the magazine, Guide to Astronomy. Her name was Hinami Yamada. She had joined the astronomy club earlier this spring. In other words, she was younger than me. Hi!
失礼します。
Can I help you?
入部したいです。
Oh, I see. Huh?
ダメですか？ダメですよね。それではさようなら。
Matinee? Wait, come back! Welcome to the astronomy club. Man, that surprised me. I never thought that a first year would want to join the club. I found this out later, but Hinami was one of the guests that came to observe Pleiades 1. She was Corona's classmate and was interested in the stars. After coming to the Stargazers meetup, she decided to join in the astronomy club. It had been half a year since she joined, but
太陽系のなんとは一生なることよ。
I still didn't know what she was thinking. Well, she was interested in astronomy and our activities, but most of all, I was just glad that Knight helped her to see the world of astronomy. I tried to imagine telling Ulrheimli about it. And that's what happened. Thanks to you, there's finally a new club member. Ulrheimli?
ごめんなさい。涙で文字が読めなくて。星はいつか熱を失い死を迎えるけれど、同時にこの宇宙には新しい星も生まれている。マイヤの輝きよ、永遠なれ。
We said our New Year's congratulations while opening an expensive-looking box of macarons. But even though we had a new member, there was still only 2 of us, so we didn't have many activities that we could do. Normally, we would just get together in the club room, read books, look up stuff on the net, and record what we saw while stargazing. On top of that, I had to work, so there's only so much time that I could be here. That's why we relied heavily on the Six Stars Club to do big activities. We did stargazing meetups together, lent each other equipment, and taught each other techniques. Yesterday, we borrowed a camera from Nishai High and tried to take photos of celestial bodies. Once someone younger joined the group, I finally understood what Orihime had told me. There was no mistaking the Six Stars Club had been helping the neighborhood astronomy clubs liven up their activities.
やっぱこれって
Hey!
だよ
Hey you, non-club member!
な。俺のことか。
I don't have to yell hey to Hinami. When I say that, it would be great if you realized that I'm always talking to you.
お、
After he replied and went straight back to his phone. I took a deep breath, stood up, and went behind Takeichi. What are you looking at?
コメットガール。知ってるか？
Never heard of it. Is it some kind of idol band?
ある意味そうなりつつあるかもな。昨日ぐらいから話題になってんだけど、な、これってさ。
Takeichi started to show me some low-quality video on his phone. Right when I was about to look, my phone beeped, telling me that I had a message. With that, I turned to face Hinami. Hinami, are you ready?
ダークエネルギーを手中に収め、ゆくゆくはこの宇宙を。
Hello, Hinami, come back to us.
はい、大丈夫です。
She blushed, realizing that I saw that her head was filled with terrible fantasies. I grew used to it, but at first I was a little scared to be alone in the same room with her. Taki, we're going out for a bit.
どこ行くんだよ。
To the Six Stars Club meeting. The Six Stars Club would meet up once a month. By the way, Taki, isn't the winter tournament coming up soon? Stop wasting your time here and go to practice.
やべ、もう始まる時間だわ。監督にどやされる。
Takeichi looked at his watch and put his phone in his pocket. He had joined the varsity team in his second year. It seemed he was the team ace. He'd been really working hard in practice ever since they got past regionals.
山田ちゃん、お茶ごちそうさん。
いえ、またいつでもどうぞ、コロナのお兄さん。
We left the room. Hinami, you don't need to give him any tea. If he's too comfortable, he'll just stay.
うちの母が野良猫にするような扱いをすればいいんですね。ラジャーです。
And how does she treat stray cats? I was curious, but I decided not to ask. Actually, it would be more entertaining to see Takeichi ask her about it while it happened to him. We were talking as we left the building.
おやおや、
あれは麗しのかゆいつまちゃんではありませんか。嘘、どこどこ。 ほんとだ、久しぶりじゃん。元気してた？かよいずまちゃん。
はい。
またね。バイバイ。
さよなら。
Saya finished greeting the student that she had never met before. Hey, Saya!
アキトくん。こんにちは。天の川先輩。
Hinami went stiff just looking at Saya.
こんにちは、山田さん。
It looked like Hinami was dizzy and lightheaded.
本日もお美しいです、天の川先輩。きっとあなたはアルビレオからやってきた白鳥のプリンセス。
Saya tilted her head, looking confused. Sorry about her.
いいよ。人前じゃなきゃ。
Thanks for waiting, shall we go? That message earlier was Saya telling me that she had arrived. We were going to the meeting together.
行こう、山田さん。きっとアルビレオは悪の銀河帝国に占領され、地球に逃げ延びてきたプリンセスは身分を隠し。はい。
Seems like that girl has 8th grade syndrome. Oh well. The three of us got on the bus and headed to the meeting place at Maiku Academy. Saya would go there alone, but she's pretty shy with people, so we tended to go there a lot together. So, what are your other club members doing?
漫画の締め切りがあるんだって。同人誌だったかな。
Oh! I nodded, but I didn't really get it. The girls in the Saisen Astronomy Club other than Saya drew comics. Since their school had forbidden any comic club from being established, they had been using the Astronomy Club as a cover for their activities. But it wasn't like they were participating in the Astronomy Club activities. Those girls had come to Pallades' One First Light event at the end of last year. They said they were drawn to the beauty of the stars and all the mythology, and they had liked how cool our homemade telescope was. When they saw Pallades 1, they had even been shouting, "Amazing! This is amazing, Saya!" Even I saw how excited they had been. That's why they kept going to the meetup and why the Six Stars Club website had more art and a comic explaining what we did. From that night, our club ad started to change little by little.
何？
Saya asked Timothy, noticing that she kept stealing glances at her once we sat down.
天の川先輩は部長の通い妻なのですか？
I choked without thinking as I stood holding onto the strap. The other passengers around us started listening into our conversation just by the mention of that word. Hinami, about that.
そうだよ。
Hey, Saya!
なんて。嘘嘘、アキト君とはただの幼馴染。そうですか。
Hinami and the rest of the passengers around us had a mixed look of relief and disappointment on their faces. Well, that would surprise anybody, a beautiful young girl like her saying that she was married with a smile on her face. Please stop teasing people younger than you. Hinami would take it seriously.
ごめんなさい。
Saya just laughed like she didn't do anything bad at all. Jeez. And my heart was racing. I decided to try and go along with her joke. Saya wasn't my wife. We weren't even dating. We were just friends. Really good friends. That's just that. But Saya and I and one other friend had a secret. About 1 year before, Saya had asked me out. I've been seriously bothered by it ever since Saya told me how she felt that day. It was a normal reaction for a boy to feel lucky that a cute girl like Saya had asked him out. There was nothing to worry about. Anyone would have been happy to have her as a girlfriend, lucky in fact, like a gift from the heavens. But was it okay to date her for such a simplistic reason? I've been troubled by it, and Saya had sent me a message.
お話があります。明日、星のダムに来てください。
I had viewed the lake from the dam as I had waited for Saya. The last time Saya had called me down here was all the way back then, when the bridge had still been here. While I waited, I thought about that time, 4 years ago, and what it had been like. How would I have responded if I had read that letter back then? I was really just depressed back then. I was so angry because I had just gotten into a fight with Hikari and stopped being her friend and then moved away before we could make up. No matter how I would have answered, I wasn't in the most cheery of moods. It had been 6 years since I met Saya. I thought we'd always be friends. I would see her as more than just a girl from the time to time, but I just drove those emotions away. Developing feelings for a friend seemed like it was betraying that friendship. How do I put this? It might seem cold, but I guess we were just kids back then. I had had more fun exploring the mountains and looking at the stars with both of them than I had figuring out any romantic interest. That's why I thought Saya and even Hikari didn't see me that way either. I didn't even think it was possible to begin with. It seemed like Hikari still didn't see me that way. But that was all a long time ago. I wasn't a kid anymore. I needed to give Saya a proper answer. What am I going to do? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of the combined Saya and Hikari path. At this point, when we make one of these one decision here, if we choose Saya as the one, we'll be going to the Saya ending. If we choose maybe there's someone else, we'll be going to the Hikari ending. So at this point, I'm going to end this video. And before I actually, because Saya is the first character that I'm going to end with, I'm going to go back to the previous large decision, and I'm going to take us down the path for Corona and Orohime. There'll be some repetition because we're going to go through that whole telescope scene again. But it's going to be different because there's going to be parts of that whole setup that are specific to Corona and to Orohime. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. Once I've done that, we'll come back here and we'll choose Saya as the one, and we'll go through the 4 endings that I like in order from least to greatest, and that'll be it. So I'm happy you've stuck with me so far. Thank you once again for joining me. I am 2Athamar7 of www.nottatimcurrystudios.com saying so long for now.
Sure.